So SmackDown was bad. Bad. I mean, really bad. It was worse than Raw. Bad. It was like it took WWE CW, crammed it with every 2000 to 2001 pay-per-view of WCW, and then you put a China sex tape on it. Then you put a Nia Jax body without the face on it. It's that bad. Just so we can get it clear, they made R-Truth sympathetic in a sympathetic note, won a singles title because he was number 30 in the Rumble, to just get dragged off by dragged off by Nia Jax. He won the U.S. Championship, so he was issued a United States Championship match against Shinsuke Nakamura after Nakamura beat Rusev. So that takes 2 championship changes for the U.S. title in under a week. And I understand the Elimination Chamber. So I thought Elimination Chamber is the next pay-per-view, then it's Fastlane. Why you need 2 pay-per-views to build up the WrestleMania? I know you guys don't have the most establishing stars to actually make a worthwhile build-up to only have 1 pay-per-view, and then hell, we go to the Royal Rumble. But come on, man, this is obviously not that interesting. That we need Fastlane and Elimination Chamber to build up to the Royal Rumble, like Fastlane never did anything for us. Fastlane never did anything big, except that one time with Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, but that was it. They just did that so Daniel Bryan can get some screen time. You know they were going with Roman Reigns. And now we opened up with Becky Lynch after her Royal Rumble win and trying to ignore her knee injury that she suffered over the Rumble. And then it came up to after slapping Charlotte Flair in the face. No, I think she punched her. Just walked out like an idiot, and she was limping. She's been limping for a while. I don't know if they're trying to implement that as one of the weak qualities coming into the maybe not a championship opportunity, because later on when she was getting interviewed, she left in her car. Like I was supposed to have sympathy for a person who won the Royal Rumble. No Asuka, not much of a women's division coming after, maybe one of the bigger things for the women's division, implementing a battle of the Royal Rumble. There's 2 Royal Rumbles, and it didn't work. Look at it. Why you have 2 Royal Rumbles? The Royal Rumble was annual for a reason. It had top stars. The women's division is not certified top stars. The only person that's a certified top hit in the women's division wasn't even in the Royal Rumble match. She was defending the women's title. You don't let her rack up an amazing undefeated streak. You don't let her be known as one of the most intimidating women in the entire WWE. You just let her win the women's title off the bat. And you made Becky Lynch win even though she's coming with a handicap. Really, this Ronda Rousey, as much as I want to give Nia Jax a bit of credit, she was in like number 29 in the female Royal Rumble, then took 30th in the male Royal Rumble. I don't care. I really don't. She got RKO'd in 619. While later in the show, people were making fun of Mustafa Ali. You got eliminated by a girl. I would make fun of him too. I'm a dick. What were you suspect? So there was 2 segments to open off the show. So Nakamura faced Bruce, R-Truth for the U.S. title after he was screwed over and assaulted out of nowhere for Nia Jax. So just for there to be a woman in the men's Royal Rumble, while no male appeared in the female Royal Rumble. And these 2 were granted number 30 spots for what reason? They were not built up as major game changers. These guys were not built with a chip on their shoulder. They never had that much screen time on SmackDown involving this ultimate opportunity. Not at all. They didn't even have plans going into the Royal Rumble. So R-Truth got assaulted, and Carmella was not that big of a factor. The point of that was just sympathy points for this U.S. title match, just for a couple retarded moves. It wasn't that impressive. If you've seen our Truth match before, you've seen them all. And somehow our Truth is the two-time U.S. champion. And Rusev came out of nowhere to just get another championship spot that he also lost. Rusev, so that means a title defense immediately for our Truth to just have a match at kickoff of Elimination Chamber, where he's gonna just lose it in the middle of the month in February. This was a pretty poor segment, in my opinion. Then they had Carl Anderson and Gallows to come in for a segment, all because they lost, all because Rusev and Nakamura lost. And I think they were trying to issue a tag match, even though these guys already wrestled. So this segment was completely worthless. It was completely worthless. I haven't seen Sanity. New Day, I've barely seen in a while. They did compete tonight. But Gallows and Anderson, really? And it seems like Heavy Machinery is on SmackDown because later in the match, there's a fatal four-way tag match to see who's going to be facing off against The Miz and Shane McMahon. They're tag team champions. Holy shit. They're tag team champions. Why? Come on, man. Why? Tell me. For this entire... Screw the review real quick. A bit of a filler. Over all these times, Shane has been in groups, factions, trying to associate with other wrestlers. Fuck that segment. Why, over all these years, Miz has been with protege after protege, tag team partner after tag team partner, and guess what? He did it on John Morrison. R-Truth. Nobody does background checks on this. And then you give a little pity party about your fucking father not loving you when you were formerly known as a WWE champion. You won Money in the Bank. You won the US title and the Intercontinental title a bunch of times. And previously, before you won Singles Gold, you're a multi-time tag champion, by the way. So bringing up all that old shit, completely worthless just to have a sympathy points for Shane McMahon to even tag with him. There's not even that much of a goddamn connection with Shane and Miz. Miz was acting like a weird, creepy-ass best friend for no apparent reason, just for this to be a tag team, thinks his tag division doesn't have that much of conflict, interest, or an interesting feud. I think the most biggest feud coming out of the tag division when it was SmackDown in 2018 was the New Day and Usos. And at least they had serviceable matches. I just thought their feud was pretty bland because the Usos were over with their heel gimmick, and the New Day had the love of the kids to just win over the fans. And plus they're gonna get a corny ass pop regardless, thanks every fan in the WWE right now, instead of like a buff or a multi-aggressive asshole big dude, some badass kids, some actual misbehaving kids, some hot bitches. We get neckbeards, scrawny dudes, middle-aged or 30-year-old losers that are going to come over and say that the Attitude Era is better than the PG era. We know already. Out of the way. I just want to get that out of my mind. I already heard what's going on with Dean Ambrose. I have a lot of stuff to cover later on, because I think I'm gonna upload the SmackDown review for the Raw review. Next up was a segment involving Rey Mysterio in the ring. He was supposed to match up against Samoa Joe, then Zelina Vega came out of nowhere to, try to say that you were distracted by me over all of this. And I don't know why Andrade Cien Almas is even Andrade, I'm sorry, for short. I usually say shit for short, but it's his name. I'm gonna give respect to a person's name. So Andrade came out of nowhere and assaulted Rey Mysterio off the interruption by Zelina Vega. Then an elbow to the head of Rey Mysterio off the 619 attempt. And I don't know why Rey Mysterio continues to wear a vest. I don't know if he gained a bit of weight. But whatever. That segment was shit. I know they're trying to get a feud going on, but if you don't have promos involving Andrade and Rey Mysterio, and why if it's like I, a luchador, been insulted off you being a luchador, and it was more historical and at least a bit more respectable feud things it's involving two luchadors wrestling against each other, I would be fine with it. I wouldn't. It's gonna be a mid card feud at best, but I'll be fine with it because there's a major reason. But come on. Next up was the Shane surprising Miz segment involving their time as a tag team and trying to bring these sympathy points to the Miz, even though he did all this bullshit stuff in the years and been one of the more decorative superstars. Hell, he could have had a showcase mode on 2K19, but it goes to Daniel Bryan because he's a babyface. Use the hair. Fucking, this was a poor segment. This was crappy. Why is Shane doing this? Isn't he an authority figure? Isn't he an authority figure in all of this? The McMahons were supposed to be reportedly taking care of SmackDown, but everybody's issuing matches and disputes against each other with no source of, authority over the entire couple weeks since December when they were issuing that the McMahons will now be in charge of Raw and SmackDown instead of two GMs, instead of two hand-picked GMs by both Shane and Stephanie, that thinks Paige wasn't doing anything wrong, and now she's out of work. I don't know if she's involved with the movie. I think they have an actor for Paige already. And Raw, that's been having crappy GM since Mick Foley or John Laurinaitis, you pick. I, I obviously don't understand how crap this continues to get. To just have Shane mess with Miz when the Miz should be, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, should be competing for the WWE title. As much as they want to put this clinical feud with Daniel Bryan, I haven't seen a lot of matches with the Miz and AJ Styles. I'd rather see that, thanks to don't having a lot of top stars. And any other hardcore fans, if you're a hardcore fan or not, or just a regular fan, if you've seen WWE for a long time, Miz can back it up in the ring. And even though I don't think it that much, I see he is a good convicting talker. He knows how to spread emotion, and he can talk and show it and show his aggressiveness and crap. He can tell a story in the ring. I just haven't seen a good feud with him yet. I know he can do better, and he obviously has the gimmick, he has the ability, and he has the mic skills to back it up. And yet they don't want to push the button with him. Fuck Braun Strowman, where the hell was The Miz? I'm just saying, he's been in WWE for a long time. He's been one of the most consistent wrestlers. He obviously hasn't been that well known. Sure, he's a corny ass gimmick, but he's consistent. And he's a top star, he's a top talker. He's been, even though he had crappy opponents, he at least got the main event SmackDown. It's been crappy. It's been crappy. Now you put him in this tag team with Shane just to say that his father loved him and he's proud of him. When he obviously, that list of crap that he has accomplished over the years in the WWE, what was the point? To build them as a tag team, even though it looks like they can hold on to the belts for at least a month or two before WrestleMania, and this tag team would be completely worthless. In a year, you'll forget it. Just like in this year, you already forgot, and you want to forget Nicholas and Braun Strowman were tag team champions in one point at WrestleMania 34. Zack Ryder won the Intercontinental title. Don't worry, because it was under 24 hours that he even got to hold it. Carmella was women's. No, Carmella wasn't that bad. Carmella didn't have a bad reign. Bayley won the women's title and had forgettable feuds. It's just not that. You'll forget that Miz even won the tag titles with Shane in a few years. Next up was a fatal 4-way tag match for elimination tag match. And whoever wins gets to face Shane and Mike Mizanin at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, involving Cesaro and Sheamus, the Bar, the Usos, the New Day, and Heavy Machinery. So it seems like they're established with Raw, SmackDown, even though they were brand flipping. You never had them. at least Vince McMahon being like, welcome the heavy machinery to SmackDown, or Nikki Cross to Raw, and we haven't seen EC3 yet. Or that other bitch that's been trying to get involved in women's feuds. I forgot her name. It's just obviously not that important. But this was a serviceable tag match because if you've seen the Bar, Usos, and New Day for a bunch of time, the only difference was heavy machinery that I don't think locked up an elimination in this tag match involving the Usos. I think the Usos get a tag team match, so they get an opportunity to face off, so they can become 6-time champions of a bunch of super kicks, a bunch of suicide dives, over top rope sentons. This was an alright match because obviously when you have experienced wrestlers like Kofi Kingston, the Usos that has been veterans in the tag division now, Cesaro and Sheamus that you know them if you've seen them in the wrestling ring, they barely have any flawful abilities about them that make them stiff or crappy in the wrestling ring. There's nothing sloppy about Cesaro and Sheamus. And Heavy Machinery need to talk more. They don't have that much interesting of chemistry with each other because Tucker Knight and how the fuck to say this guy's name? Otis Dozovich do not seem like they're good friends with each other or tag team partners. So, yeah, USOs defeat the tag team so they get a #1 contender spot for the SmackDown Tag Titles. And that is the last match of the night because the next moment was involving Daniel Bryan tossing away because he's supposed to be Captain Planet, the WWE champion. We're supposed to protect the environment. Listen, as much as I don't mind Daniel Bryan turning heel, kind of you folks gotta higher your standards a bit. If Daniel Bryan was heel before and a couple years ago, and he was Intercontinental Champion, wouldn't mind it. Absolutely perfect. Decent. He's a good wrestler. He can work well on the mic if he's more aggressive. And you bring up Eric Rowan, that was part of the Bludgeon Brothers. What happened? They never explain what happened with the Bludgeon Brothers. They just bring up that he's his intellectual acquaintance, I think. And then they tossed out the belt because it's made from hard labor. And it's not for the earth. So they tossed the title away because it's with leather and shit. And they brung out some crappy little wooden, different looking belt. Because Daniel Bryan is a vegan. I think that's the entire part of his heel run, that he's a vegan, he's an environmentalist. While a lot of big stars came up to the ring, instead of having qualifying matches for the Elimination Chamber, so what the fuck you're trying to build up here? Because Triple H just came out of nowhere and just said, yeah, you're defending your title. I don't give a fuck against all these faggots. I don't care. I don't care. Give a fuck. Velveteen Dream, stop licking my feet. And oh my goodness. Oh man, I don't think Velveteen Dream is homosexual. Holy shit, I saw him with a valet on TakeOver Phoenix. You guys gotta stop. Listen, this show could have been better. This show could have been better. Segment with AJ Styles, and they just awkwardly transitioned to Mustafa Ali, all because he was a pickup from 205 Live, meaning he's a main event wrestler. I'm trying to get it. Trying to understand it. Trying to understand why Mustafa Ali over all these guys, instead of Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev that lost the U.S. title, they don't want to get involved in a championship opportunity. But Mustafa Ali does, instead of having a shot for at least fucking Cruiserweight title or the U.S. title. I'm just saying, if you want, you could just bring the Cruiserweights back into the main roster and just make them... Everybody was thinking this. Just make them cruise through SmackDown and Raw. This is already getting too irritating as it is. Thanks, we know Seth Rollins is not gonna fuck with Daniel Bryan. He's gonna be the Beast Slayer, the King Slayer, the God Slayer, the Ass Slayer. Oh, okay, I take that name already. But still, this was a crappy segment just to implement everybody. Jeff Hardy was somehow involved in the championship opportunity. Please don't let Jeff Hardy win. Mustafa Ali, Randy Orton, Samoa Joe, and AJ Styles. I don't even understand. Why wasn't Eric Rowan saying anything over the segment with Daniel Bryan? They didn't even. Weren't they supposed to implement like the women's tag titles in elimination match or something? This was just a crappy pay-per-view. I mean, crappy show. Just having R-Truth win the U.S. title to an awkward segment involving Becky Lynch and Charlotte, and Becky Lynch leaving. No women after the Royal Rumble having their own complaints or actually having their own feuds. So you can actually make a women's division. A women's division is not because you implement Elimination Chamber into the damn show. That doesn't interest me. If you put fucking puppies in the Elimination Chamber, I won't watch it. What makes it good is the individual feuds and what these women had against each other in the past or are about to in the future. That's the point of a show. That's the point of a feud. That's the point of having these weekly shows. I mean, sure, they're going to bring up Naomi and Amanda Rose, but nobody else has any interesting feuds, thanks most of them are with crappy factions or at least have no interesting personality to actually get one. This was a really poor show. This was a really poor show. And Becky Lynch chose Ronda Rousey, so nothing's on SmackDown because Asuka's still women's champion and she had no words to say. Thanks, she can't speak fluently in English. And there's no knock on a outsider of the U.S. not getting to speak Japanese fluently because somehow Nakamura can be semi-intimidating by crooked English. At least get her a translator or something to make sure we take her seriously as a women's champion. Thanks, she can't do much. I'm just saying. You talk too much. It's just that or nothing else. SmackDown was terrible. Give it a 5 out of 10. This was a mediocre SmackDown. The segments that didn't go anywhere. A main event that was feuds that are up against the wall. No actual storytelling involved. God, if I were you, I would just rewatch Takeover Phoenix. Even for people that like and respect NXT, was an underwhelming takeover. But at least they liked a few of the matches. I didn't like anything going on SmackDown. Thanks for watching.